This ain't gonna be a long video, but I'm just gonna come out and say this. A lot of people don't talk about when people talk about best albums of all time or greatest hip hop albums of all time. People will bring up Illmatic. Some niggas will bring up The College Dropout or like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy or like the Carter 1, 2, 3, and so many other albums. But or they'll say Jay-Z's The Blueprint or some other shit, and those are great albums. I'm not like downplaying them or saying that they're bad, but like in my fucking opinion, I feel like to me this Speakerboxx, OutKast, Speakerboxx, The Love Below, in my opinion, is probably the greatest album ever created. Like, I've heard this album so many fucking times because, I'm a huge OutKast fan. I fuck with Big Boy and Andre 3000. You know what I'm saying? I love their music and shit. But, like, I've heard this album so many fucking times. And, like I said, I've listened to OutKast's discography from Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, AT Aliens, Aquemini, Stankonia, Idlewild, you know what I'm saying? But in my opinion, this album was their magnum opus. And I feel like a lot of niggas don't talk about this album enough as far as like best albums. Like, this album not only was perfect from front to back, like there is no skips on this fucking project. Like, this album was perfect. You had Big Boy, Andre. They basically did two separate albums and they combined it as an OutKast album. Like, you got one side, Big Boy's album with Speakerboxx, where it's like a traditional Southern hip hop with bass heavy and traditional Southern hip hop. And then you have Andre 3000's album, The Love Below, where it's like experimental, is blending jazz, funk, you know what I'm saying? It's blending inspiration from Jimi Hendrix, Funkadelic, Parliament, George Clinton, those cats. And it's blending genres and telling it in like a love relationship type shit, because the Love Below deals with relationships and love and loneliness. I ain't finna this ain't gonna be no breakdown video of the album, but you get what I'm saying. It's basically two separate albums but packaged as an OutKast album, and it's both of these albums stand on their own, but it doesn't decimate the OutKast brand. And this album was perfect, bro. Like, there is no bad songs. Like, there is no skippable songs. Like, this album is damn near fucking perfect. You know what I'm saying? And this is also the album that also won Album of the Year at the Grammys. Me personally, I'm not a Grammys type of dude. I don't give a fuck about the award shows. But this is the only album that won Album of the Year at the Grammys. I know a lot of people give Lauryn Hill credit for being the first rap album to win. I mean, Lauryn Hill, she's a cool artist. I do think she's kind of overrated, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm probably going to get, killed for my opinion. Not killed, but what's the word I'm looking for? I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for my Lauryn Hill take, but I'm just not a Lauryn Hill fan, you know what I'm saying? I respect her music, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to disrespect her, but I do think she's kind of overrated. I do think a lot of motherfuckers overhype her too much. And plus, she don't write her lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Lauryn Hill don't write her lyrics. You know what I'm saying? So, like, in that album, what was it called? The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill? That shit, I'm not going to say it's not a rap album, but it leans more to R&B and soul more than just a typical rap album, if that makes any sense. To me, I feel like Speakerboxx, The Love Below was the first rap album to win like Album of the Year. Like, and this is probably the only album that won album of the year at the Grammys. What album can you name that have won album of the year since this album? Not only that, this album is also the best-selling hip hop album of all time. A lot of people don't know Speakerboxx The Love Below is the best-selling hip hop album of all time. And this, like I said, it's the best-selling hip hop album of all time. Eminem's albums is not number one. I know a lot of people bring up Eminem, when they talk about sales. Well, Eminem, his records sold well. Yeah, Eminem's albums have sold well, but his albums are not the best-selling album of all time. That title goes to Speakerboxx, The Love Below. I know a lot of people bring up Tupac. Tupac, he did sell well with his music, especially with albums like All Eyes on Me and, his music. Yeah, Tupac's albums sold very well, but it's not the best-selling hip-hop album of all time. The best-selling hip-hop album of all time was Speakerboxx The Love Below. Like, this album was the best-selling hip-hop album of all time. Now, I'm not sure if things have changed recently, because I'm pretty sure GNX, that album by Kendrick Lamar, I'm pretty sure it sold, like, pretty well. I don't know if it surpassed Speakerboxx The Love Below. I mean, I probably have to go do some research on it, because I know GNX done did pretty well. Especially with its, with the tours, because Kendrick Lamar been touring off of GNX, and, he's been doing well with his touring. But I don't know if it surpassed Speakerboxx The Love Below, because you gotta understand this, Speakerboxx The Love Below came out when there was no streaming service, when people were still buying CDs. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of too early to say, but I think Speakerboxx The Love Below is, the best-selling hip-hop album of all time. It still holds that title. So, like I said, this is the greatest album of all time. Motherfuckers always talk about Illmatic. People always bring up all these other great albums, but none of these albums come close to Speakerboxx The Love Below. And if you a person out here that say that you like music and you a music head and you do not have Speakerboxx The Love Below as, like, I'm not saying you gotta have the album number one, but if you don't have this album as top 5 or top 10, you're not a fucking real music head. You just one of them people that just go off what everybody else say. So when other people name their best albums list and you go off what other people say, you're not a music head. You're just going off what everybody else say instead of having your own mind. See, me, I've listened to music. I've been listening to music for like all my life. You know what I'm saying? I've listened to different albums, different genres. So I really listen to music. Like, I'm not just a motherfucker that just say I listen to music, but only just listen to one particular thing or just listen to rap music. No, I listen to everything. So, if you just one of them people that just go off with the average person saying, you don't like really listen to this shit, you can't call yourself a music head, bro. Because Speakerboxx The Love Below is better than all these albums that people, name drop. This album, had bangers on it. We talking songs like Roses. We talking songs like Hey Ya. Songs like The Way You Move. Songs like Ghetto Music, Prototype. She Lives in My Lab. It's so many gems on this fucking project. The track with Ludacris, I think it's called it's the song after the interlude, Bamboo, because that's Big Boy's son, Bamboo. I forgot the name of the song. It's with Ludacris and damn. If you heard the album, you know what I'm talking about. But like, it's so many damn bangers on this fucking project, and like, a lot of people give Kanye West credit for, you know what I'm saying, pushing hip hop forward with 808s and Heartbreak. You know, people give credit to Pharrell and the Neptunes. People give credit to Timberland. You know, people give credit to A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and all these different artists, you know, who bridge hip hop, you know, as far as like blending different genres. But I feel like OutKast doesn't get a lot of credit, especially albums like Speakerboxx Love Below, because if it wasn't for Speakerboxx Love Below, to me, I feel like Kanye wouldn't exist. I feel like 808s and Heartbreaks wouldn't exist. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, as far as alternative hip hop, I feel like alternative hip hop as we know today wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this album. So I feel like a lot of people need to give a lot of people need to stop sleeping on Speakerboxx Love Below. Like, this is hands down like the greatest album of all time. Like, there's probably a few albums that I could name that could be, you know what I'm saying, up there with Speakerboxx Love Below, you know, as far as like perfect albums. Like, I can name a few. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye, Yeezus, Graduation, The Life of Pablo, Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, or Good Kid, Mad City, Jay Dilla, Donuts, Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, Earl Sweatshirt, some rap songs. Who else? Jizza, Liquid Swords, NWA, Niggas for Life. There are some other albums that I can't think of. Bira, Untrue. The album Untrue by Bira. Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland. Trying to think of some other albums that I can't think of. Prince, The Sign of the Old Times. The Beatles, The White Album. Joe Division, Unknown Pleasures. It's so many albums, man. It's so many fucking like great albums that I could say that, you know what I'm saying, as far as contender, as far as like being damn near perfect, you know, having those skips, damn near perfect albums. But in my opinion right now, none of those albums touch Speakerboxx Love Below. It don't matter what albums that comes out, they're not touching Speakerboxx Love Below. And we probably may never see an album that could top Speakerboxx Love Below. But other than that, man, I just wanted to talk about Speakerboxx Love Below. Like, this is a fire album. If you guys have never checked this out, like, y'all niggas need to go check out this album, because I feel like a lot of niggas don't talk about this album enough. You know, even as an OutKast fan, a lot of people don't talk about, they don't put this album in a high standard, you know, when it comes to the discography. You know, when people talk about OutKast discography, they bring up Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, or they bring up AT Aliens, or they bring up Aquemini, or they bring up Stankonia. But like, I feel like Speakerboxx Love Below is their magnum opus, and I feel like this album, you know what I'm saying, should be talked about and in the higher regards, just like those other albums. So that's all I gotta say. Peace.